Hey, Tom, thanks so much for sharing your story with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I'd like to start off with you telling us a little bit about where you were at in your health journey when you first came to see me.
Oh boy. Yeah, I was a mess. Complete exhaustion, not quite bedridden. I was still getting up and going to work, but I really had no life outside of just being tired and trying to survive, in the world of having a job. So when I hit your office, I didn't hold out a whole lot of hope. I've been to a lot of physicians seeking help. Nobody would ever find anything on blood work. They'd all say, oh, you're just fine. And, at some point you get the referral to go see a psychologist. And then that's another message of, it's in your head. But I knew it wasn't head. I was sick. I felt horrible and just really didn't have an avenue for how to get help until I found your office.
And what was your energy out of 10 when you first came to see us?
Well, I think on a good day it's 3. I mean, I was pretty tanked.
Yeah. And so now where's your energy out of 10?
I hover between a 7 and a 9, depending on the day and how much sleep I've had and whether or not I'm staying on top of my supplements and taking care of me. I'm horrible about feeling good and forgetting about everything. And I'll get a little reminder of like, oh, that's right. This is kind of a lifetime thing I got to work with.
Well, but fortunately, you've been off of most of your supplements now for like the last 4 months, and your energy has still been good.
Yeah, no, and I haven't crashed at all, and I even went through COVID with all this and somehow crawled out all that.
Excellent. And so then what can you do now in your life that you couldn't do before?
Enjoy activities outside of work. I guess a good example was it was kind of a spur of the moment thing that my partner's daughter wanted to have some photographs done of her and her family in Oregon on Sunday, and said, hey, could you come babysit our, the granddaughter while we get photographs taken? So we just jumped in the car and drove to Oregon. And then came back later in the day. It just ended up being a lot longer, busier day, but it was fun instead of being exhausting. So those are kind of things that I hadn't been able to do for a really long time.
Brilliant. So what would you tell somebody who's on the fence about working with us, who's got fatigue, low energy, weird symptoms?
I think the biggest thing is whether or not, that let's say I'm coming into a cold again. The person that introduced me to you was somebody I trusted and they trusted you. And that ended up being a whole big key of whether or not I could trust yet another physician and go down another path and take that risk of being told it's in my head again. It's easier to just, at least for me anyway, it was easier to just survive day to day than to kind of relax a little bit and have a little hope and then have that crushed again. So take a risk. I know it's expensive. That's the other part of the journey. Is it's not cheap. But,
right.
But if I get my life back, it's worth every penny. And in this case, I did.
Yeah, and
I've been one of your long haulers.
Right.
So yeah, this has been a long, long journey getting me out of the woods.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, it's expensive, right? Has it been worth it?
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. To the degree that I have the energy and vitality that I had, maybe in my 30s. Now that I'm pushing 60, that's quite a while ago. And even in my 30s, I didn't feel that great, but I had way more energy. And now I have, I guess, as I'm getting older, a little less vitality than I had, but I have more energy and a better sense of well-being.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us today.
All right. Well, hopefully it helps. And, anybody out there, if you think you're going to do it, and I would say go for it. There's help.
Awesome. Thank you. And are you okay with us using this in our marketing materials?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have been along for the ride and gotten out of the fatigue.
I hear you. Thanks, Tom.